going to start that. So yes, we're gonna have Q&A at the very end. I'll let you guys, so we'll get started. I'm gonna do about a half hour to 40-minute presentation slideshow, and then we'll do questions and answers for 20 to 30 minutes at the end if people have more questions after we go through all that. So let me just see how many we got. Cool. It is 8:05, so I want to get started. I know it's late. You guys have stuff to do, and if people join in, they'll join in. But thanks for being on time and joining and coming to learn more. Glad you guys found us, however you did, and for filling out this survey, registering, and everything. We're excited to tell you more about the school and our plans. And like I said in the email, hopefully have you guys be a part of it in the future as we grow into our second year. So I just wanted to first introduce the panel who we have here at Everlasting Education. That'll be the team going into next year too. The who of Everlasting Education. This is me. My name's Michael. I am showing off these new shirts that we have here too, because these are actually Everlasting Education apparel that we just got came in for our athletic teams, which we still haven't really officially formed yet, but we're the Everlasting Earthlings, and Jen and I were happy to be wearing these shirts to school today. And so I'm from Little Silver, New Jersey. I'm the executive director of the program, and I founded it. So just before that, I went to the University of Notre Dame, and I actually studied business there and accounting. And I went into accounting for 4 years after Notre Dame in New York City and Los Angeles. So my background is a lot in that, but that kind of ended in 2017 when I moved out here, was still in the finance world, but really wasn't fulfilled by it at all. And I would like look out over the city and be like, I need to be doing something different. This is not meant for me. And that was back in like 2016. And back then I just applied for some assistant teacher jobs. I worked at Citizens of the World Elementary School for 4 years as a teaching assistant, and just really learning about the education system in Los Angeles public schools. And I really liked their philosophy at that school, which is based a lot on culturally responsive classrooms and social emotional learning, which is something I'll talk about in a little bit more when I get into the program. So I worked in 5th grade, 1st grade classrooms. I did a lot of PE work at CWC. And as a TA there, they really have you really involved with student life. And that's where I learned a lot of my elementary school background. I now am just finishing up my last semester at Cal State Los Angeles for their teaching program there. And that's where I did most of my formal academic teaching. And then at BioCitizen Los Angeles, I actually started there 4 years ago. I was one of the founding teachers. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this program, but it's a nature connection, environmental studies program that does primarily a summer camp. And I was one of the founding teachers there. I built the program over 4 years and had a lot of fun doing that. I really connected with the city and the history of the city and the nature, like that's all around. I really dove into it, met with a lot of the local like environmental groups and environmental teachers, and really just that's where I started working, like seeing the difference that it makes working with kids in nature too. And so I was at the elementary school for 10 months, and I was working like this program, BioCitizen, in the summers that was travels all around the ecosystems of LA. And I would see the kids lighting up all summer and really connecting and making these connections and learning. And even kids I knew from school that were struggle in school and have issues. And really my last year, I saw how it all kind of clicked in like fall of 2019 of like we were in a brand new building at CWC. So it was this beautiful brand new building, but it was like bright, like luminescent lights, like a big bright classroom, like just a box. And coming from the natural world all summer, it was really stark. And I was like inspired to start bring more of an academic full-time school outside. And that's what has come together this fall in Everlasting Education. And so we'll get more into the program, but that's kind of my history since I graduated college and came out here to LA. It's been really fun, and like just finding, I just think back to like my times of feeling really lost as an accountant and like what was out there for me, and finding this kind of nature connection outdoor classroom and making a difference in these kids' lives, having being able to meet during COVID, which we'll also talk about a little bit, um, has been just an awesome fall and experience. And again, hope that you and your students can be part of the school too. And so Jen was also part, and Tatum, who are also both on the panel, were a part of BioCitizen this past summer, and we worked together. Jen, who's gonna get speak next, going the wrong direction, has been working with BioCitizen for 3 years as well. She came on like helping out part-time, and really over this past summer built into a lead teacher there for this summer program of nature connection and native exploration. And so she came over with me when I started the school, and she knows these classrooms really well, the trails that really well, our classrooms we'll talk about again in a little bit, of all the parks of LA. And so I was just really pumped that she was believing in the program, and she'll talk a little bit more about her experience coming and helping out with our first grade class this year. So Jen, do you want to introduce oh, I also wanted to mention, yes, I wanted to say a little bit about Jen. She's certified in yoga, so here's a little clip of her with the kids doing some morning stretching in the morning. And yeah, she's just a great help. She's a great assistant teacher. All the students feel really comfortable working with her. And yeah, I've been thinking about what to say about to introduce you, Jen, but there's so much. And yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, because I could talk for a while about how much you support me on a day-to-day basis out in the field and our students.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel very supported too. I'm excited to be a part of Everlasting Education. I think Michael started introducing me pretty well. But just to go back, I am originally from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I grew up what I thought was with a bit nature connection, but in reality, looking back, I was more of a girly girl doing like dance or cheerleading kind of indoor activities. And as I started to get older and follow my own interests, I stepped outside a little bit. When I went to the University of Minnesota, I studied cultural studies and comparative literature, and just in my classes was made aware of a lot of things that I didn't know were right around me, and took advantage of the university and started to get outside and even embrace the winter a little bit with some cross-country skiing and those kind of things, but still wasn't really sure how to make that kind of thing a life. And I came out to LA to study fashion, and after working as a buyer for 5 years, I was kind of burnt out being on the screen, and I did a lot of work myself going down to the mart downtown, and then we had some stores locally, so I was like hand delivering product, and it was a lot of road time and screen time that I just didn't enjoy. And as I was leaving the company I was working for, Michael was beginning at BioCitizen and just kind of offered like me to come out and walk with the group at the time. And it sparked love of the outdoors that I didn't really know I had, and opened all kinds of windows that I didn't know were possible. And just every day getting excited in the field guides and learning new things on our walks from the students' questions and the other guides we were walking with. I just continued to dive in and was excited to be a lead teacher the past summer, sharing my experience and building off of the kids' curiosity and questions and observations, and really enjoying embracing the moment and sharing experiences together. And the one thing that I kind of felt was missing with the programming, the way it was set up, was I didn't feel like I got enough time to connect with the students. So coming over to Everlasting Education, it was really great to sit down and work with all the kids, you know, one-on-one and week in and week out. And I'm enjoying seeing their development and just working with them on a more intimate level and just getting to know how to assess their learning styles and make things interesting to their curiosities. And yeah, so along those lines, I'm looking forward to our upcoming year and working alongside with Tatum again. It'll be fun to share my knowledge of the kids and places with them and get to make new connections and memories with Tatum.
Yes, thank you, Jen. Hi, everyone. I'm Tatum. I will give a quick little background about myself. Michael, you can, yeah, perfect. So yes, I am from Los Angeles. I grew up in the South Bay, around the beach all the time. Some of my favorite childhood memories are going to the beach, going hiking and camping in the Sierra Nevada mountains. So I had those experiences, and then I had some really transformative outdoor experiences in 5th grade and in high school, where I was at outdoor science school once, and then on a 10-day backpacking trip in Washington State. So I think those are really pivotal moments for me. I found my inspiration to be an environmental educator during those times. And from there, I've just kind of stuck with it, and I studied environmental studies at Bucknell University, which I graduated from last year, and I also minored in education in Spanish. So I've always known I wanted to go into environmental education. So right after I graduated virtually, I got my dream job of working with BioCitizen, and I got the chance to work with Michael and Jen and start leading hikes right off the bat in the summer. And it was amazing. I feel really grounded when I'm outside with the kids, and I feel like most myself. And so that's kind of my approach with the kids, just trying to find their unique gifts and talents and bring that to light and just have fun outside and learn. And like Jen and Michael were saying, just kind of feed off of their energy and their questions. And it's really amazing how inspiring the little ones can be for us. So yeah, now I'm back here. Now I'm teaching a little transitional kindergarten pod closer to home in the South Bay. But I'm really, really looking forward to next year and working alongside Michael and Jen and just watching Everlasting Education grow.
Awesome. Thanks, Tatum. And so for now, the plan is for Tatum to take my group that I'm working with this year, the 1st graders, and Tatum to be the 2nd grade teacher next year for that group. And Jen since Jen's my assistant for this full year, to Jen to move into the role of Tatum's assistant next year, working with the same students and orienting Tatum to teaching outside more and being more of the, just trail guide and that kind of sense of like, did it for a year and is helping the new hire out. And I know those guys will be a great team. And depending on how enrollment goes, though, we may switch around some of the lead teaching staff and stuff as we see how enrollment kind of plays out and what the age group completely ends up being. So that's the plan. Here's how we're going to go through. I'm going to talk a little about the organization, bigger picture. We're going to talk program logistics, which were the majority of questions, like how exactly does it work? And then let you guys ask some questions at the end if I don't cover anything that you guys asked. So what is Everlasting Education? What is it? We are a nonprofit organization under educational purposes. Our mission is to provide outdoor educational experiences to students of all ages. So hopefully some adult programs sometime in the future. But right now our focus is obviously 5 to 7 with an emphasis on environmental and cultural studies. So looking at the environment, looking what's around us, how can we learn from what's around us, and we'll talk about a little bit more about why when we talk about our philosophy in a little bit. Right now we have 3 programs going to achieve this mission of environmental education. We have our Social Butterflies program that came out of, parents in the fall that were not excited about Zoom school coming, and they came to me and asked if they could put together a group to socialize students and make sure they have some activities so they're not just on the screen and see people. So I'm like, okay, Social Butterflies, let's do it. That'll be great. We do that from 3 to 5 p.m. We did it all fall, and we have a spring semester coming up that I will tell you about at the very end. That starts in March. We have our holiday break programs, which are 3 to 5 days. Like, for example, the Thanksgiving break program was 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, leading up to Thanksgiving. And Christmas, we had the same 3 days right up before Christmas Day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we just kind of sneak those in. We have a spring break thing coming up that I'll talk about more. But the main thing that I am most passionate about, and the kind of flagship thing that I think most are here about, is our full-time outdoor academic program. All these programs are fully outdoors, but our fully outdoor academic program that runs Monday to Fridays, which is now currently full-time first grade class, but will be a K through second next year. 8:15 to 2:15 is our current schedule, and we'll look at a little example day schedule in a little bit. I'm over here in Boyle Heights, and so excuse the dogs that are barking nonstop. Hopefully, I think Zoom cancels it out. Hope that's not too distracting, but my apologies if it is. So a lot of the questions I saw were about what is the philosophy of the school? What are you guys grounded in? And that is 4 things. I sat down, I didn't have this before I read this question. So I really did sit down. I was glad to hear that question. I know it, but I really sat down and formalized it after reading your guys' input of like, what is your guys' philosophy? And so I feel really good about it too, of what it came out. So first of all, we're founded in place-based learning, and that comes a lot from my history at BioCitizen. That place-based learning is like really looking at the environment, and you're defined by your environment. Something I talk about with the students is that when we're in the park, you can't describe the park without just including yourself, because you're in the park, and you can't describe yourself without talking about the park because you're in the park. So that's a basic way of showing students and talking about how we are our environment. And place-based learning is pillar 1. I forgot, I have another slide that gets a little more into each one. So just to kind of recap the 4, or overview the 4, number 2 is nature connection. And they're all very connected. These 4, they really play into each other. And so 4 pillars, I'm not sure is the best metaphor. I'm still thinking up some metaphors. Because they really are like interlaced, and it's really woven. And because some of the ways I describe place-based learning, I find starting to sound like I'm talking about nature connection, and then nature connection and place, I start to think I'm talking about our 3rd one here that I have, which is a constructivist classroom, which hopefully some of you are familiar with the ideas, but we'll talk about what that means as a program philosophy. And finally, I talked about this with my experience at CWC, but social emotional learning was really my intro to education. Elementary school education was through these 2 bottom ones here. So the bottom ones here kind of represent my time at CWC Silver Lake, and my top ones here really my time at BioCitizen. And really fusing these together is what drives our program, and I think is what really is making such a awesome kind of 4 pillars concoction of our what's coming out in our student outcomes. So place-based learning, the environment is our textbook. We don't have formal textbooks. We will obviously have reading materials, field guides, but we're looking around and saying what's here today. And whether that's, we get into, and this is where it starts to happen, where this is also nature connection. We look at the nature around us, but also the systems. And so we look at living and man-made systems. So yes, the water system, ecosystem, like, but then it gets into man-made, like sprinkler system. And why is that lady using a giant wrench every morning to turn on the sprinklers, and like very physical things we learn of, and we're out in the parks and kind of coming across the curriculum as it comes across us from day to day. So we're looking at the city, we're looking at the parks, and we're looking at the bigger systems of the environment, and those things as well, and this place-based learning. And this is where I think students really start to make the connection that people, the man-made and living systems, are interconnected, and that we can make these decisions. So we learn about our agency and how we play a role in those systems and how we can make a difference. And I'm excited to, as we get into the older grades, really start to formalize some of these connections as well. And again, this leads into community awareness, which we can talk about how that bleeds into social emotional learning, nature connection. What community are you a part of? And this is, the living community of all living things around us, our neighborhood, just the people in the park that we interact with. So community awareness is a very big part of this place-based learning. And that'll lead us into our second one, which is nature connection. So all of our classrooms are outdoors. We'll take a look at a map in a little bit about where our classrooms are. But each day we're like immediately confronted with our outdoor classrooms. We are very heavily engaged in native plant and animal identification. So that's really like where we start, like, what's that bird? What's that plant? Looking at interesting ones. And that really, again, getting into the next one, constructivism, we let the students' interests and where their attention goes, what questions get asked, kind of drive the curriculum for a certain day and time. So lots of native plants and animals. We have field guides and other resources. Sit spots are a very big part of our program that we'll talk about as well, that involve just really immersing in nature and sensory awareness activities and mind-body connection. And for nature connection, I want to stress this is also involved in like turning inwards too, in the nature of our own bodies and the nature of like tuning into ourselves as well. And that includes physical education and running around and knowing the systems in our bodies that make us healthy and strong. So next is constructivism. This is formally, like, the most well-known constructivist like method is the Waldorf method. It's really student-driven by student conversations, collaborations, interests, open dialogue, and shared authority. So we're voting on things in class. If we want to go up and do a hike, we guys want to do a steep hike for like 20 minutes and go up to this one park that you all know, or should we stay down here and maybe play this game for that 30 minutes? Like, majority rules. Sometimes it's 5-5 and they have to do a rock, paper, scissors. Sometimes it's 6-4, sometimes it's 10-1. It's fun, but they know that there could be a time where they're going to choose what happens in the day. So open dialogue. When something goes wrong or bad, we'll talk about why did that go wrong or bad, or if it goes great, it's like a constant conversation and open dialogue. So that's always really fun, especially at every age level. It's fun. And yeah, we think of ourselves as teachers. The role is really as a facilitator and a mentor, guiding students to their success. Small group size, it's a bit of a result of COVID right now with our group of 10. We have 10 is our max, and that's the max we'll be enrolling per grade for now, is 10 students per class. I think the max I would have it in like virus-free times would possibly be 16 maximum for that, and that would be with a lead teacher and a TA, so an 8-to-1 ratio max. But for now, it's limited to 10, and that's a COVID protocol. So small group size and lots of individual learning. We have a wide array of students learning. In our first grade class, students reading every Harry Potter, and students just learning what letters make what sounds. And they're all doing really well and not getting lost because there's just 10 of us. So social emotional learning is just openness, really talking about how we're feeling, addressing it, learning how to talk about our feelings, naming feelings, again with the mind body connection, communicating, and learning how we can, be mindful, how we can name our feelings. And really it's the talking about them and naming them that is the major step, that students can advocate for themselves and let our staff or teachers or other students know when they maybe need some time or need to talk about something that's bothering them or something like that. But honestly, conflict wise, like compared to my time, some of these students were like knew each other before they came to our school, which is always great. But I think going back to just being in a smaller classroom, these kids are very cooperative and really work as a team out in the world. And that goes back to the just community awareness that I talked about before. Some other questions that people were asking, and obviously we want to share about, is about our accreditation. So we started just this fall as one first grade class of 10 students. So we don't even, so we're registered with the California Department of Education as an independent private school. And we are currently, so this is the next step from there, is the accreditation from the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. And I've started the process with them. And in order to get that accreditation, and is a school visit. And the school visit requires that you have at least 2 grade levels. And so we don't technically yet qualify for this accreditation under our current 2020-2021 school year, because we only have 1 grade level. And so next year, I already have a representative that I'm working with at the association here, and they will schedule a site visit. They'll take a look at student work and records and curriculum, and they'll also do staff interviews. There's like a standard application form, and they'll also do parent interviews. So if you happen to be part of the school at that time, you would actually be part of that accreditation process to possibly, I think they do like some random number of or selection of parents to see how the school's going and just, make sure it's actually a school. The state of California is, in terms of like registering with the Department of Education, that's the major step. Some of our families were homeschool families, so you're familiar with this, but the state of California is fairly, it sounds funny to say, but the state of California is very liberal in terms of education and what you are allowed to do. And so as long as you're being responsible, there's certain, for homeschooling, like waivers that you can fill out and be totally autonomous over your students' education. But that was more of a conversation this fall with our parents. Going forward, we're fully registered now with the Department of Education and going through our, like I said, accreditation here. And what I've been finding is that everything is like a next step process. So once we get that, then we go more to the federal level. This is regional. They do California and Hawaii. And then we go to the Federal Accrediting Council for Independent Colleges and Schools, which they look to make sure that we have this and that, and then that. And that's pretty sure the 3 that we will be, I'll be done thinking about it once we have all 3 of these. But it's a process as we move forward with our grassroots school that was talking about the history of the school. And the real history and the belief of the parents was in me and my experience over the summer with the families that founded the school and came to me and approached me and said, we want to we have this vision of a school that aligned directly with my vision of a school. And it really was this perfect meeting of these parents asking for this kind of program and me having it already planned in my head and waiting what I thought was a longer period. It just was, the right time to start this. So a lot of the accreditation right now is on parent testimonials and things like that, I know some parents currently are willing to have conversations with people who are interested. We have a few parents who have I asked for testimonials. They said, send anyone my way. So in terms of that as well, we have some street cred, as they say, with some parents that can speak with you guys and stuff. So that is accreditation. Here are some pictures of the program in action. Swallowtail butterfly, frog like we promised, out at the waterfall in Altadena. Of course, some of you guys found us on Instagram. Here we are training our senses and really diving into the sounds around us, our sensory awareness. But now the next thing, the main questions I was getting also were, how does it work? We want to know, like, what is this, an outdoor school? Yeah, right. So where is Everlasting Education? I created this calendar, or excuse me, not calendar, this map of classrooms here. And these are where our classrooms are. And so let me see. Before I share that, I'll just kind of lay it out for you straight up here, and then I'll show you the classrooms. So we meet every morning, each week at a new location. It's a rotating set of classrooms. So there's about 10 to 12 classrooms that will rotate through in, say, a 20-week semester. We'll go to a few 3 or 4 times, a few only once. And it's all parent drop-off at those locations where we meet for our morning circle and go all for that whole week. And so going forward, for some of the younger grades especially, we will likely spend more than 1 week in a location in the fall. We'll start maybe with 2 weeks or maybe even a month at the one location before rotating to the next. But it probably wouldn't be a whole month, because it is a really exciting part of the program about how just the students building this dynamic mindset and being super dynamic, because we do have a structure of how our days work and how we welcome them to the place each day, but being in such a different location and reorienting themselves is a really important part of our model. And so we are at different locations that are primarily in Griffith Park and Elysian Park, and then go up the Arroyo Seco into the Altadena area and Jajamogna, La Cañada area some weeks. And so here's the map of our classrooms. And this is Griffith Park up here, where you'll see 5. Down here in Elysian Park, you'll see 3 classrooms. And then going up over, this is Debs Park and Sycamore Grove Park over in Highland Park area. And then going up this way, there's a few in between that we could always use up through this Pasadena area, a few more parks, all this beautiful green space. But then some of our favorites up here that we currently use at the JPL location up here. We've been there 2 weeks already. We're in the fall, and we'll be there again soon. And then Millard Canyon up there. So this is the spread. And, you know, some days, a lot of our families live on the east side here, and they've been easy. And then they have a week where it's like a longer commute. And some families live over in this area and are happy to have those days, but they're commuting down in other times. And, you know, that's kind of this is the ballpark region, and mainly in this Elysian Park, Griffith Park area as what I would call like the comfort zone or home base. And these out here as more bonuses and great times though, great weeks, maybe once a month out that way and 3 times a month down in that area. All right, back to the slideshow. We got about 10 minutes left of the slideshow, and then we will get to some questions. So that's the where. What is next on here? So weekly and bi-weekly location rotations, Griffith Park to Altadena. Parents are dropping off at the location. In the future, we're budgeting and planning, hopefully, to have an indoor space for technology, some computer days, possibly research, especially as we get more into older 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. So we want that indoor space. Any crazy weather days, we want to have indoor space for inclement weather. But right now, again, totally outside. And in transportation, we want to invest in a van too, so we can add a layer of classrooms that are field trips. Like we're in the field every day, but then we'll have field trips that are like Vasquez Rocks, Malibu Beach, tide pools at Palos Verdes. So that is kind of a next level plan in terms of the where. Oh shoot, I want to keep sharing that. All right, so here's what a day looks like. Check in the morning, 8:15 drop off, 8:30 is the close of drop off. We'll give students the plan for the day. I'll just talk about Elysian Park Arboretum is one of my favorites. So we hike up to a little garden in Elysian Park for the first classroom. We'll talk about an animal of the day in one of our nature guidebooks. Then we'll have snack, run around for a little bit. And then I have these 45-minute blocks in here for more formal lessons. And so we are a lot about nature connection and, constructivism, but we do have formal lessons, phonics, learning certain letters on a whiteboard, practicing how many words can we name that start with that letter, how do we draw that letter, practice drawing the letter, things like that. We'll look a little bit at some student work in a minute. And then we'll all be off to another hike after that, another maybe 45-minute hike, walks, or stroll, another formal lesson, 45 minutes, possibly we do a math lesson, play a game, have lunch. So just to show that a lot of our parents at the beginning were saying, is it just hiking? Are you guys just bird watching for 8 hours? It's like, no, we are sitting down in these classes or in this program for much more formal lessons that look and feel like school in a circle setting. We're always in a circle, and we even talk to the students about how the circle is a sign of respect, how we all face each other and everyone's voice is the same in a circle because it's equal like that. So we have our formal lessons. We do a sit spot, half hour meditate. I would call that like a environment meditation. Sit spots where we're taking in our environment and documenting it, writing it down. Fun game, sensory awareness game or running game. And then have our closing circle where we always do a gratitude. And yeah, that gratitude is just a social emotional tool that students have brought home. And I'm really proud of actually to hear how much they've brought that home and say, we need to share gratitude, mom and dad, every meal, because I teach that as just a emotional tool that we talk about a lot. So here we are in the outdoors. We have clipboards. Jen and I lugs clipboards around and our student work for the day. There are worksheets. Here's some examples just of our September phonics work. Learning our letters, learning words that start with those letters. We started spelling units in October, so on Mondays we'll try our best to spell some words. On Tuesday we'll trace them and learn them a little more. Wednesday we write sentences that the teacher wrote. Thursday write our own sentences and draw some pictures too. So this is just what it looks like when you see pictures on Instagram of what are they doing on those clipboards. Here's some of the stuff that we do for spelling. What's next? This is our sit spots. So I have some pictures of what that looks like, doing some journaling at the Millard Falls. So we use these to really assess student writing and guide it as well. So use some detail. What do you see? Write more than one thing about what you see. So here's someone who found a bee at the waterfall. I see a waterfall, lots of rocks. And so a lot of journaling and nature journaling to connect, observe, and also writing practice as well. Another one, love this one because I feel happy there at the end, feeling super pumped at the waterfall. Let's see, here's some other writing things in first grade writing example, typical things. We follow all of the state regulations on, curriculum and guidelines for what students should be doing per grade level, sentence structure, story, opinion writing, info writing. Math, we're currently using Eureka Math because of a situation that we have some students currently, the way we're working right now is as a supplement to some students who need to use a Eureka Math for the school that they're enrolled in, and we're just supplementing that. So we're tied a bit to Eureka Math for now, but It's not the plan to be on that forever. But we do a lot of oral math as well. And we do a lot of math also with like what we come across. So we'll count how many sycamores and oaks are in this park. Okay, this group counts how many sycamores, this group counts how many oaks, and let's add how many total trees are there. How many blue jays did we find? How many acorn woodpeckers did we see? How many birds total did we see? So a lot of applied math, and just using it as something to, or just like, connecting the curriculum again with our place and like, what can we count that's around us? Why is math useful? Here we go with some lessons on environment. I'm just gonna kind of run through this. I want to see, we have a few things left, but I'll get to our tuition and fees because I know everyone is wondering about that. So we're getting close to the end here, and I wanted to get to this. It's 8:45, and I wanted to share with you. So as I mentioned in the beginning, it's a grassroots program. We are totally private. We do not have any funding outside of tuition. We are not get any money from the state or the city or anything like that. So these parents really believed in this program, and the tuition cost now is $15,000, and that pays for everything. That pays for our supplies. That pays for our our salaries. We are happy to be able to offer healthcare to our employees starting in March. So that is also part of that. And just fully, like, obviously enriching your students and buying supplies and things like that. As we become a nonprofit organization, in the next 6 months, we're hoping that that's finalized, our nonprofit status. Then we'll be able to fundraise more formally, and get grants and reduce costs and have financial aid. But this is our current tuition costs. So what would happen is if you decide to enroll in the program, where did that go? If you decide to enroll in the program, you would pay $750 enrollment fee this spring, or coming up, like now. I'm calling it the spring right now because I forget winter's real here sometimes. But yes, that would be paid now, and then you would start paying tuition. This number here, the monthly payment number, $1,250, that would be paid starting on July 15th, as mentioned here, and the last one going through to June 2022. And we currently do not have very much financial aid. Is really just a reduction of the cost available, but there is some room for conversation around this. It's not comfortable for me to do this at all from coming from public education and realizing the value of what we're providing. But like I mentioned, for all those reasons, this is our tuition currently. And we are open to having conversations. I have my email at the end, and you all should have my email. So I'm happy to discuss this as a barrier to certain people, and having those conversations on a personal level, that I'm very open to having. So that is how that works, and it is now open. So if you actually go on, we're enrolling 10 students per grade level. For our second grade, we currently have 7 students already enrolled that are going from our first into second next year. So that means there's 3 spaces available next year for second grade. For first grade, I already have 1 family who's committed, and there's 9 spaces available. And for kindergarten, we are just now, with the interest that I've seen from this survey, beginning to enroll at that grade. And we're gonna have wait lists possibly at some levels, because I'm not fully set on the number of students and the grade level. I'm very open to having blended classrooms with our format and program style. I'm definitely open to the blended classroom style if we had a certain numbers that didn't fully align with the set 10 10 10 5 6 7. That's something that I'm open to, and we'll have wait lists and be able to have, again, like, conversations about that. The last thing I want to say is there's opportunity to check it out and try out our programming before enrolling. Not to say that it won't be fully enrolled at some point before this, but we do have programs coming up this spring that your student could join and get a taste of what it's like to walk out with us in nature and explore and hike and discover with us. So we have after school program that's on Wednesdays. That's starting up on March 3rd. So that meets every Wednesday, again, in those similar locations to where I was showing the locations earlier, from 3:15 to 5:15. Nature hike Sundays. So that's starting up. That's going to be every Sunday for 4 Sundays in March and May. And then we also have a spring break session that's up, and you can find all these on our website. So I didn't talk about COVID at all. I just realized that. And because it's so second nature to me right now, I'll run through it and say it, what we're doing for COVID. So right now with the surge, families are getting tested every week. Families are they were required to submit their test before the first day of school, coming back from winter break, and they're getting tested every week. That's a rolling one, so they don't have to get me the new test before coming back every Monday. After the first day of school on January, which was today, now they just have to get tested. But if the results come in on the Tuesday, it's okay. It's just rolling until the next stop of class, and that is that. We're fully outside. We're not in any indoor locations. Students wear masks the entire time, and they are very well trained, I guess, at this. So over the summer, when I was working for the summer program, it was very much retraining students every week. And it was like half of it was teaching students how to distance and wear a mask. But now that we've been working with students for, I don't know, maybe we're in like our 70th day of school or getting there, around their 80s. It's second nature, and they're doing a great job, and they hold each other accountable with their masks and space and distance. Meals is when we really space out big for meals. Take your distance. We have hand sanitizer constantly ready. We do not share any materials, so that's like we have field guides. If you're reading and everyone has their own books, pencils, there's not a big thing of markers in the middle. Everything gets wiped. There's like everything goes through the teacher and disinfectant before it's ever passed around. And Jen, if you want to pop back on for a sec, if there's any COVID things. So, we asked that there's no play dates after school, right? I'll also say we started in September getting tested every other week. So it's a conversation, and it's gone through parent surveys, parent meetings. When I talk about having a constructivist classroom, I also want our like parent community to be talking and voting and saying what they're comfortable with and what they think is appropriate. We follow the day camps protocols because that's the most relevant one to us, right? Is day camps in terms of being open, a day camp facility versus like a school, because they talk a lot about the big buildings and facilities being indoors. We ask Nat, like during the beginning of the year, families were, students were playing after and hanging out, even playing chess. So we had some students who liked chess, and they would meet up and play at the picnic tables after. And we just said, please don't meet now after school. Please go right home after school, because there's where the city is like we're allowed to be meeting as a day camp and a child care provider, but for play dates and stuff, we need you guys to please just go home after school. We take temperatures every morning. We ask for symptom checks. We do a symptom check for staff and students. Take temperature, sore throat, coughing, any pain in your chest when you breathe. Every student is asked that every morning, and they say no. Every morning. We haven't had anyone that's got it, but we do the screening. Parents also do the stuff at home too. We have some parents who are doctors and do screenings as well, so always to be doing that. But every morning we make sure to do the screening. And yeah, Jen, anything else you think I missed?
No, but it's just really impressive how good the students are with the masks. No one complains about wearing them. We recently, I'm trying to remember exactly when we put it into place, but all of the kids wear medical masks, and it's really useful. Like they don't get wet or messy or lose them. And if they do, we have extras in our backpacks. And like Michael said, like we really space out for lunch, and um, they know how to take their space. They know what 6 feet looks like. And even when we're hiking on the trails, we've kind of come up with code language so we can relate to each other and be like, oh, there's like, instead of saying an unmasked person on the trail, we have a code word, or just like there are other people on the trail and they are wearing masks, but we should still take our space. So it's really nice to see them working as a team with that.
Yeah, and that just part of like the place-based learning too. Like we totally are, you know, upfront with them as part of the curriculum, talking about the current like coronavirus and how many people might have it, what's the likelihood that someone we see out there might have it and stuff. And so they're very much like topic of conversation and wanted to and just know about it. And I will say that it does like I'm happy to talk to families about what it's like, but if you do, there is like a level of understanding with our students of knowing those rules and things like that, and just like behaviorally and expectational wise that uh, it really was a good at play this fall of like the reason we're allowed to meet is because we're following all these rules. Most people aren't allowed to have school in person right now, but we are, and the reason we are is because we're really good at following these rules. And so that's the mindset and mentality that we are still we all understand. And yeah, we need to be doing it wearing masks outside for now as our standard practice. Some schools I've seen have not been fully masked for kids. They don't think kids need to be, but we are totally sticking with that masking, staying masked for now. Outside of breaks, we definitely, again, like student agency, students advocating for themselves, like I need a break. I need to take a step. I need some water. Like, just take your 6 feet, or if not more, you know, to do all those unmasked things. Even though we are all tested, screened each morning, hand sanitized, all those good things too. So I feel very safe at our program. There hasn't been any COVID incidences like spread within the program, and like knock on wood. Um, that's going all the way back through June with the Biocitizen Summer Program too. And that will lead us to the Q&A. So I see some questions coming through. Some stuff in the chat, Tatum, you took care of, so that was nice. Thank you. And so here we go. So bathrooms, yes, we use park bathrooms. Some we have some families one family who requested no bathrooms. I want to find a spot in nature always. So we do. There's always a nice private spot that we can find in behind a tree or something in the parks that we're at. If not, that student too, like we've talked to the family, like we wipe bathrooms down, and we make sure that they're clean before students enter, and like yeah, we have hand sanitizer before and after every meal, hand sanitizer. And I also have a soap that students can use, but they tend to just say they want hand sanitizer. But I have a soap that'll bubble up and they can wash their hands too with that. With like, I have a big water jug thing that I'll pour out on them to wash their hands. So that was that. I think I answered that. You would like to answer this question live? I'm not sure. I think I said I answered it. Done. Okay, cool. Next, did something pop up? That's a question. All right, so I guess if you guys see the Q&A section, you guys can type it in there. If you also want to raise your hand, I can call on you to talk. So I'm going to go through the ones that people have typed in already. And if you want to type anything else into the Q&A, feel free to type it into the Q&A or just click raise hand and I'll click on you to call you out. So the next person is about rain. So it has not rained. It's coming up. It says Fridays on and off next week. we've been at the old zoo, and so the old zoo, if anyone's familiar with it in Griffith Park, has old cages, exhibits. So we're planning to use some shelter in the old zoo this week, um, which is I'm really excited about that. We also, Debs Park has been a plan for us. At Debs Park, there's some big terrace coverings, but they're meshed, like they're just wood terrace wicker, and then we're gonna drape some tarps over those, and they have a good amount of areas with those wicker things, and we can drape tarps over them. We definitely want to be out in the rain. Like I'm excited to feel that, and like talking about the environment and nature connection, and in LA and Southern California, that precious rain. So we want to be out in it. Obviously, like cold temperatures, stormy weather. Like if it's 45-mile-an-hour winds, like we're not, and like just torrential downpour, we would be a different plan. But luckily, where we are, we will know if that's going to be happening, and that's not going to just be a rolling storm that pops out of nowhere. It just doesn't happen. So that's why I love living here and why this really can work here. And yeah, that we could have weeks of rain, but I know we'll make it work in those cages at the zoo over there, and with the tarps. We have a few other plans with big tents and those pop-up tents and things like that, but we also got to make sure of our space too. So we'll see. I'm brainstorming a bit too, but we have some plans for now as well for the rain. And then, like I mentioned earlier, post-COVID, space-wise, we want physical space to be able to retreat to as well, and that'll be something we'll be investing in down the line. Vaccine policy, that will be a board decision. We do have a board of directors. That's over my head. We have doctors as parents too that I need to talk to, and in terms of this one, I definitely will be a conversation that has not been had yet, when it's possible for parents, and then later kids can get vaccinated. Yeah, so we're asking for tests. So, if you're vaccinated, that's great. You wouldn't have to get tested. That would just kind of substitute for that, like send your proof of vaccination. Then we wouldn't be sending in negative test results, but we are asking for negative test results in the current climate is what we're asking for. We don't have the full calendar for 21-22, but I'm thinking of for when is the start date. It would be late August, so the last week or maybe last 2 weeks of August, if not just the last week of August would be the first week of school. Yeah, vaccine, got that. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for that, but there you go. Yeah, where do you go? Extreme weather right now would be probably a day off if it was like I said, 40-mile-an-hour wind, torrential downpour day. Take the day off, and then the next day we would definitely go by the LA River and check it out. Like, how much rain did we get? Because we talk so much about the LA River, and it's great to see when it's like chugging with water. Mindy, what happened? Yeah, there you go. Rain. Fires was a conversation. We were monitoring the AQI, air quality index, was something we were paying very close attention to during fire season. What we didn't miss a day of school for fires this fall. We had shortened days though, from 8:30 to 11:30, 3-hour days, which is a state minimum for a day of school. So that 3 hours got us there. It wasn't full exposure, it was limited. We have our masks on, which actually helped too with the particles. And we were monitoring AQI. So there were ranges of like AQI in this range, we're good for school. AQI next range with the wildfire smoke would be a limited day to 8:30. And it was conservative. It was like under what they recommended. And then, or more than what was recommended in terms of staying inside and limiting heavy breathing and stuff. And then next level, like we're take the day off, but we didn't get there to the day off. So we made it through the smoke. We've not made it through any rain yet, but we're excited for rain. We're very excited for rain. Thank you, Mindy. Another one, Mindy, is after school holiday programs are for full time. No, those are open to the public. So that's what I was saying about getting a taste of our programs, our locations, me, our instructors, Jen. Hopefully Tatum can help out too with maybe some of our breaks or Sundays. So no, those are open and on our website. So check those out to enroll. Kindergarten hasn't focused on reading. No, that we will definitely be reading. We will be reading. We have books, a lot of good. I have the library here somewhere. I don't know where the library went. It's in a backpack. But we got lots of great nature books. Students are reading. We do tons of phonics, spelling. Every week we have a 10 list spelling word in first grade. And I get the spelling words out of their sit spots. So when they're trying to spell like nature words, like breeze was one of the ones we incorporated this week because I kept seeing that they're trying to spell breeze because they feel the breeze, but they can't spell it. So that's where I get a lot of the spelling words, and we will ton of phonics and reading will be coming along for sure. And then what if the first language has not English? We do yeah, I definitely can offer ESL supports. Like with the small class size and like the just kind of in your face, I guess not in your face is the wrong word, stimulating environment of being outdoors. Like I can imagine that the ESL will come very quickly for learning the second language of English, but I would be happy to have that conversation with you about their current level of learning a second language in the program and of English. And just speaking of second languages too, Tatum is bilingual in Espanol, and we'll definitely be incorporating some lessons into her second grade class next year. And just again, back on our place-based curriculum, we're talking about why are so many things named with Spanish names in Los Angeles, and why is it the Santa Monica Mountains? What does that even mean? And what was all this stuff? So whatever, just to talk more about cultural awareness. But yeah, totally. ESL, I think that'd be good just to talk before registering and enrolling about that. But yeah, happy to teach English. I had a student in 5th grade student who was 10 years old who moved here from El Salvador when I was TA in 5th grade. And it was one of my favorite teaching experiences was teaching him English. So totally open to that. Amir, did you want to speak? You have your hand raised. I can let you chime in if you wanted to shout out a question as well. I can talk in per minute. Oh.
Hi, it's Jessica. I'm Amir's wife. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Yeah. I just had a follow-up question to the reading question because I want to make sure I understand, because basically he's in a Waldorf program right now,
right?
And they haven't taught them reading. I mean, he knows all his letters and stuff, but they haven't read at all. So I was just wondering if that would be a problem going into.
So that we have that exact student this year as well, and that's who I was referring to in terms of we have a Harry Potter reader and someone who's just learning the alphabet and sounds.
Got it.
So like and that's the exact background. So and he's doing great. It was very obvious that it was not a like any learning whatever issues or individual learning things that needs to be worked on. It was just exposure, and like it's their brains are it's time to learn a language, and they was very quickly like reading and get like still working there, getting there. But I don't think it wouldn't be limiting him to say don't join us or anything.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, totally. Let's see. Cool. Any other questions? I see nothing else in the Q&A. Hopefully that means I covered everything, but if you guys are sitting there with any lingering questions that you feel I didn't cover, it's being recorded as well, so it'd be helpful for anyone else to know. Yes, Anthony, I'll share slides. Definitely, I'll share the slides, and we'll make a recording available of this for people. We'll upload it to YouTube, and have people able to check it. Yeah, absolutely, Mindy. If you guys, I wanted to show you guys, her question was, can we set up a time to talk? Mindy, also based on your email, I think we have the same birthday. Just fun fact. But let me see where I'm trying to share the screen because, oh, here it is. Because the last thing I have here is my email address, which you guys should all have, but I am very happy to talk to everyone and anyone personally about the fit, the commitment, what it's like, more details about day in the life. Jen, can you pull up the Q&A? Can you see the box there too?
Oh, yeah.
Is it just still that same question?
Uh-huh.
I have a notification. Okay, cool. So yeah, email me, Mindy, and anyone. Hopefully, I'll have some more combos too than just Mindy. I'm happy to talk and let you guys know more about what we're doing. And so that one there with the R classes is where you'll find the ones I mentioned before. So awesome. Thanks, Anthony. Yeah, thank you guys all for coming. I really appreciate it. And again, hope to see you, talk to you, meet you. Say hi if you see us hiking, maybe out in the parks.
Yes.
And yeah, thanks, Sam. Thanks, Anthony. You guys can take off and we'll just end this thing. So thanks again for coming.
Yeah.
Let's see. Take care. Bedtime. Awesome. All right. Tatum and Jen, I'll meet you guys on Zoom in a sec. And everyone else.
Thank you. Good night.
I'm just got to figure out the right button. Oh, there we go. There's that. And there's that.